So both formula you write it like this. Think of x bar n as a sample of size n. Okay, and sample of size n. You find an x bar sample mean based on a sample of size n. Let mu be the actual population mean that you want to do. You have to find. Right? Think of xn minus mu, x bar n minus mu, and think of the absolute primary. Right, so this in a sense tells you what is the distance between x bar and mu when x bar is based on a particular sample of size n. Okay? Then we have a very, very important definition. Let's understand this definition carefully. Right? What does this say? This says that x bar has the property that as you make the sample size larger and larger and larger, okay, for all epsilon greater than 0. So if you think of any distance between x bar and mu, you can always choose a sample sufficiently large so that the distance between x bar and mu is less than that epsilon for whatever epsilon you choose. So you want x bar and n to be very close together, you choose a sample size, you can always have a sample size so that they will always be that much close together. If you want to be even closer together, then the larger sample will guaranteed to bring x bar that much closer together to mu. Right? If you make the closeness, if you want it to be even close together, that is for whatever distance you choose, right? Whatever positive distance you choose, there always exists an n, such that as the sample size increases beyond that, the sample mean will always lie closer to mu, than the distance that you have postulated. Is this clear? This whole thing can be encapsulated in a definition. If any estimator of a parameter mu satisfies this property, if any estimator of a parameter mu satisfies this property, then that estimator is said to be a consistent estimator, right? So we've just seen that x bar is a consistent estimator of mu. The sample mean gets closer and closer to the population mean as the sample size becomes larger and larger and larger, because the relative frequencies get closer and closer to the probabilities, and the only difference between the sample mean and the population mean is in the sample mean you multiply each value of the random variable by the relative frequencies. In the population mean you multiply each value of the random variable by the probabilities. So as the sample mean, as the relative frequencies get closer and closer to the probabilities, x bar gets closer and closer to mu. Right. So whole idea is you can get x bar as close as you want to mu by choosing a sample sufficiently large. Right. Okay. And in probabilistic term, this is how you capture that definition. That whatever distance you choose between x bar and mu, you can always find a sample size large enough so that x bar lies within the distance of mu with probability 1. Right? That's called the definition of consistency. Okay, that's how we say that x bar is a consistent estimator. The sample mean is a consistent estimator of the population mean. Is this clear? This is the first important thing that I want you to internalize. Okay, some people also look at it as a law of large numbers. It says that the sample mean gets closer and closer to the population mean, and the sample size becomes larger and larger and larger, provided of course, it's important that the sample that you have chosen is a random sample. If it's not a random sample, you choose just to say the first x only again and again and again, right? Then obviously that's not going to happen. Right? So if you have a random sample, And what do you mean by random sample? Can somebody tell me what's the meaning of a random sample? What do you mean by random sample? Yeah? Yeah, so any member of the population should have the same chance of occurring. Then it's a random sample, right? Okay, so it precludes me picking up the first observation again and again, because in the rest of the observation there is no chance of occurring. Right, so I have a random sample. This part, so X bar is a consistent estimator, right? Okay. Does everybody understand this well enough? Is this working? Sure. Okay, so X bar is a cap. Can you be a bit louder? Yeah, you can make the epsilon as small as you feel like. Yeah, it says for any arbitrary epsilon you choose. So you are free to choose an epsilon infinitesimally small. No, all that it says is any epsilon you choose. Any epsilon you choose. If you choose a sufficiently large sample, then X bar can be brought within that epsilon distance from you. And if you make an epsilon smaller, it will work. So for any epsilon upside, okay? Right. So now this is very important because yeah. Can you give it louder? Epsilon is any distance, any positive distance. See, what I am saying is xn and mu. There is a gap between x bar n and mu. Think of the absolute gap, not negative, positive, etc. Right? So if there is a number line, this is x bar n and this is mu, right? Then x bar n is smaller than mu. So x bar n minus mu will be a negative number, right? If x bar n is here, x bar n minus mu will be a positive number. So what I am saying is, irrespective of the sign, just think of this distance in absolute terms, right? And let this distance be epsilon for any choice of epsilon. So you can choose epsilon as any positive number, however tiny. So what you are saying is, if you think of this distance from mu, you will always find the sample size sufficiently large that x bar will lie within this distance. If you think of an even smaller distance around mu, you can always find an n sufficiently large so that x bar n will lie within that small distance. So however small you keep on making that distance, you can always find an n sufficiently large such that such that any sample of size more than n will have a sample mean which is lying within that distance of the population. Is that clear to everybody now? Sure? And very soon in your maths class we will do all this. Euclidean distances and open sets and open balls and all that kind of a thing. Right? So really you realize that statistics and mathematics are not really different things. Statistics really is just a branch of mathematics as you will. There isn't really anything called a separate discipline of statistics beyond your TYBAs. Right? It's all really. So you see that we'll be using many ideas from real analysis to understand this. Is this clear? Sure. Now, I'll tell you why this is a very, very important idea. Okay. So let's think of x bar a little bit more carefully. Let's think of x bar a little bit more carefully. Okay. Now at the moment forget random variables. Just think of x bar. Okay. So now I have say x1. Okay. So let's first think of the idea of distances. Okay, something that I want to talk to you about. So now think of a road. Okay? This is where the road begins. Okay? This kilometer milestone number 1. And this is where you live. Yeah? The milestone number 2 and this is where your friend lives. Exactly opposite. Okay? So let me ask you. So first, you have a road. First milestone means from 0 you walk, you find you come to 1 mile or 1 kilometer if you want to do it that way. If you come to 2, if you walk 1 more kilometer, then you come to milestone number 2. So I ask you seemingly innocuous question. What's the distance from your friend's house to your house? What's the distance from your friend's house to your house? Everybody thinks it's one? Distance from your friend's house to your house. One. Why did you say one? How did you get one? 2 minus 1. Right? Because the milestone of your friend's house is 2, milestone in your house is 1, so the distance between your friend's house and your house must be 1. So by the same logic, what's the distance from your house to your friend's house? No, but then you must take the milestone in your house and subtract from it the milestone of the friend's house. So what will you get? 1 minus 2 minus 1. Right? 1 minus 2 minus 1. So now we have run into a problem. Because 8 distances cannot be negative. And one distance from F to Y and the distance from Y to F on a straight line have to be the same. But 1 and minus 1 are different. So we can't do this. Okay? So there are 2 ways to look at it. One is to look at what I did earlier. Say that 1 minus 2, the absolute length is 1. Forget this sign. Right? 2 minus 1 is still 1. So look at the absolute distance. This is what I used in the idea of consistency. The other way of looking at it, to see, is a bit of a problematic idea, but I will still say 1 minus 2 squared. Yeah? What would that be? That's still be 1. Right? So that would also solve the kind of problem that I have, right? So for many good reasons for which we'll learn later, statisticians chose to use this as the idea of distance many years ago over the absolute distance idea. Okay, when you come to the first semester, we'll also tell you what happens now if you use the absolute distance idea to measure distances rather than the square idea. Then currently we'll stick with the square idea. Okay? Right. Fine. So now think of, say, x1. These are 5 numbers. Okay, there are 5 numbers. I want to find the number x star, which could be one of these 5 numbers or not one of these 5 numbers, such that the total distance of x star from x1, x2, x3, x4, x5 is as small as possible. Right? So we are trying to find the number x star, which has the property that its distance, its total distance from x1, x2, x3, x4 and x5 is smaller than that of any other number. Imagine like this, suppose you have a circle and say you are trying to find a house to stay, right? And then there is a school is x1 and x2 is a temple and x3 is a market and x4 is a train and x5 is the bank, and you are trying to find a house to stay in so that the total distance from all these points is as small as possible. If that makes things clear. Right? So we are trying to find the point x star so that the distance of x star from x1 plus x2 plus, so what we are trying to find is of x star so that the distance of x1 minus x star from x star plus the distance of x2 minus x star plus the distance of x3 minus x star plus the distance of x4 minus x star plus x5 minus x star is as small as possible. Okay. So how will you find that x star? So what is the distance of x1 and x star? How will you find the distance of x1 and x star? No. Square, right? Sure. Plus what is the distance of x2 and x star? Yeah? general, I will write this thing of is so in general I will write this as everybody is aware of the summation operator, right? As sum. Right? You must have done some of it in the bridge course if you have not done it earlier. So it is so we are thinking of summation xi minus x star square. This is the total distance. Right? This is the total distance and it's a function of x star. Because I will choose a different x star and get a different number. Right? Now what I want to do is find the x star which minimizes this. Yeah? In your bridge course you learned how to do this. How to minimize a function. Take the first derivative and set that equal to 0. Take the first derivative and set that equal to 0. Right? So if you are to take this, if you have to do this, what will you get? You are trying to do d of, right? You are trying to differentiate this with respect to x star. And how do you do that? Use a chin, right? So 2 comes in the front, minus 2, minus sign will come there, minus 2, summation. This is what you will get. Minus 2 summation xi minus x star is equal to 0. Now what does it say? It says minus 2 into something is equal to 0. So obviously minus 2 is not 0. So if a into b is 0 and a is not 0, b must be 0. Right? So this really means that summation xi minus x star must be equal to 0. And of course, I goes from 1 to 5. Or in general now, I will think of I going from 1 to n. Right? So what is this? If you look at it this way, it is x. So what do I have here? If I open these brackets in the case of the example that I gave, it is x1 minus x star plus x2 minus x star x5 minus, yeah? And if I open this up, what will you get? If you open this up, you will get x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5. You will get x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 and then the minus x star. How many times do I have x star subtracted? 5. So this will be 5 x star. That is equal to 0. Now can you see something very useful? Can you see something which is familiar? Yeah? What will x star be then? So you have so what is x star? Average. Right? So the x star is x1 plus x2. Yeah? So x star has a beautiful property. The sample mean has the property that it minimizes the distance of all the observations from this number. So if I have to ask you what's the sample mean, you must tell me that it's that number which has the property that its distance from all the other numbers in that collection is as small as possible. No other number has a smaller distance, total distance from all the observations in that collection. Right? That's the property. That's what x star is. And summation xi upon n is a way of finding that x star. So summation xi upon n is not x bar. Or x bar is a way, it's a formula for finding x star. Right? So if I give you a collection of numbers and say, please tell me which number has the property that its distance from all the other numbers is as small as possible, and how will you find that number? You will say, I know how to find that number. If you sum all the numbers and divide by the number of these numbers, then you will get that number. Right? Okay. So x bar, right? So therefore x bar is an important quantity. X bar is an important quantity. Okay. Let me tell you more. Okay. Now, let me tell you more. Suppose there is a moment. We come back to roads again. Right? There is two. Okay, and there is a beautiful banyan tree at two. Right? And there is one here. And there is three. Right? Now three friends come and have a picnic under this nice banyan tree. Right? And because they've eaten a lot, they have to take a walk. So one of them goes and starts exploring in this direction and reaches point 1. The other friend says and explore the other side. So walks in this direction, reaches this point. The third person of course is eaten so much that he just wants to sleep off. So he sleeps under the banyan tree. Right? Now, I want to find out the total distance travelled by all these three friends. How will I calculate the total distance travelled by all these three friends? So how much is the distance travelled by the first person? 1 minus 2 square. What is the distance travelled by the second person? 0. And the third person? Yeah? Sure? Okay, now let me re-Christian these things. Let me give you different names. If I call this x1, if I call this x2, if I call this x3, right? So what I did was I just changed I repainted the milestones. The milestone one got x1, x2, x3. So what does this formula become? x1 minus x2 square plus, but now mind you, x2 has a double root, x2 has another name. It is the average of 1, 2, 3. Right? So I will now rewrite this as x2 can be written as x bar, right? Yeah. So this is the total distance covered by these three, right? Or I can write this in shorthand as summation xi minus x bar square. Okay? So what is the average distance travelled by 3? This is the total distance travelled. How do I get the average from the total? Divided by 3. Yeah? In general, if I think of n numbers, then this would be summation xi minus x bar square. This is a familiar idea? What is it? The variance, right, which is normally referred to as sigma square, right? So what is the variance? The variance is also an average. It's not a different quantity. It's an average. But it's an average of a different thing. It has the average of the squared deviations from the mean, right? It has the average of the squared deviations from the mean. Right, so if you average out, if you sum the deviations from the mean, if you square the deviations from the mean and sum them, take an average and divide by the number of deviations, you get an average. Right, so variance is also an average. If it is an average, then it must be a consistent estimator of something. Because it's an average. Right, so as the sample size becomes larger and larger and larger, averages get closer and closer to some values, right, some population value. So this then says that the sample variance will get closer and closer to the population variance because it's an average. right? It's an average. So the same law of large numbers which I wrote here, the same consistency idea will work, right? Okay. By the way, what will be the sum of deviations from the around the mean? So if x1, x2, x3 are 3 observations and x bar is the mean of these observations, what do you think will be x1 minus x bar? I am not squaring. What do you think will be x1 minus x bar plus x2 minus x bar plus x3 minus x bar be essentially? Can you prove that? You must prove it. No, don't write numbers into it. Give me an analytical proof. In fact, I have actually shown you the proof. I have actually shown you the proof. Yes? See, what did I do? I had xi minus x star is equal to 0, did I not? This is the equation from which I solved everything. Right? And then ultimately I said x star is nothing but x bar. Yeah? So you see, but what is summation xi minus x bar? Sum of deviations around the mean and I have to sum to 0. Because it's by imposing this restriction that I have been able to solve for x bar. All that is very critical, so please understand that because they are going to be very useful when we study linear regression. We will do it a little bit differently from the usual stuff. Right? So everybody understands this, some of the deviations around x bar is 0. That's because that is the equation that we use to solve it. Summation xi minus x star is equal to 0 and then we say that x star is nothing but x bar. Because summation xi minus x star is equal to 0 will give you summation xi minus n x star is equal to 0. N x star will come here. So x bar is equal to x star is what results from there. So by definition then, some of the deviations around the mean are equal to 0. Right? Okay, so we just define